History is currently underway. As of Friday, February 12th, we are 4 days into the second impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump. The former president currently faces impeachment after violent riots that occurred at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. A mob of pro-Trump supporters breached the doors of the Capitol and even the House floor in order to stop the counting of electoral votes that would confirm Joe Biden as the winner of the 2020 presidential election. And a riot that Democrats hold President Trump responsible for, as much of the rioters came from Trump's Stop the Steal rally he held just blocks away from the Capitol. Day one of the trial began with the defense and prosecution teams making their opening statements on whether the trial is or isn't unconstitutional. As many GOP senators felt it was unconstitutional due to seeing how Donald Trump is no longer in office. However, Senate Democrats would argue that former President Trump must be held responsible for his actions whether he is in office or not. The Democrats came out on day one with a 13-minute video showing a timeline of the events that occurred on January 6. It was explicit and did not hold back on showing the brutality of that day, as 5 people did lose their lives in the riots at the Capitol. It was capped off by a testimony of Representative Jamie Raskin of Maryland, who spoke of the terror he felt that day with his family inside the Capitol.
They said they heard that President Trump was calling on his followers to come to Washington to protest, and they asked me directly, would it be safe? Would it be safe? And I told them, of course it should be safe. This is the Capitol.
Trump's defense lawyers Bruce L. Castor Jr. and David Schoen, who argued that it was unconstitutional to put the president on trial for what they labeled as his First Amendment rights. However, even former President Trump was vocal of his disappointment in his defense team. By the end of day one, the Senate held a vote on whether the trial was constitutional and if it would move forward. And with 56 votes to move forward and 44 votes opposed, the trial would move on to day two. Starting Wednesday, both sides were given 16 hours to present their cases. Democrats used Wednesday to continue with video evidence of the insurrection on January 6. Stacey Plaskett was the key speaker for this evidence, making her the first non-voting House delegate to argue for an impeachment trial. The evidence included several pieces of never-before-seen security footage from the day, the most harrowing of which being a video of Officer Eugene Goodman turning around Senator Mitt Romney, saving him from approaching rioters. With day 3 concluded, the day consisted of Democrats continuing to reveal pieces of evidence never before seen by the public, as well as more vocal testimonies of senators and congressmen and women who were there that day at the riots. They also looked over evidence of former President Trump instigating and encouraging violence against protesters of him at several other rallies in the past. Democrats also used their remaining hours to dissect Trump's defense lawyers' main arguments from the day prior, the crux of which was the freedom of speech argument, where senators like Representative Raskin argued that the president needs to be held to an even higher regard, seeing how the power he holds is the most powerful of all. Now the Democrats have wrapped up their arguments for impeachment, as the Trump defense team is set to make theirs today, with many saying that the verdict could be reached by the end of the weekend. While the Democrats feel confident in the points they've made against the former president, it will require a 2/3 vote for there to be a conviction, and many experts and analysts still feel that the trial will likely end in an acquittal. However, as the trial is still ongoing, the outcome remains unclear. For SUTV News, I'm Adam Beam.